Welcome back to day 45 of online learning. Today we're going over Unit 8, Lesson 2.1, and this is going to be all about multiplication and how we can multiply two-digit numbers by one-digit numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up our lesson goals and objectives for today's video. The goals and objectives for today's video is that you should be able to say, I will be able to multiply two-digit numbers by one-digit numbers. I will develop strategies for multiplication that involve breaking apart numbers, and I will represent a multiplication problem with pictures, diagrams, arrays, or models. So those are the three goals that we're trying to accomplish through today's video. When we were working a lot with our last unit on multiplication, we were talking a lot about using what we already know to help us solve harder problems. So we practiced our multiplication facts and figured out ways that diagrams or pictures and arrays can help us visualize what's going on in a problem. As we're doing this, I want you to keep that in mind of how can we use pictures and arrays to help us visualize a multiplication problem. So this problem says there are 4 runners on each relay team. How many runners are on 14 teams? What I want you to do is pause me and take notes using number of groups, number in each group, and the total number in this problem. So it says there's 4 runners on each relay team. So if there's 4 runners on each team, there's 4 runners, that's the number in each group. And it says how many runners are on 14 teams. So if there's 14 teams, that's my number of total groups, or 14 teams. And what we're trying to figure out is our total number. And I want us to remember, last week when we were comparing multiplication and division problems, we were trying to figure out with multiplication problems, you need to find the total, or the product, whereas in division problems, you already have that total. So I know that I don't have my total number here, so pause me and think about what an equation I can use to represent this. An equation that I can use is 14 times 4 equals what? So 14 teams with 4 in each team equals my total number of runners. What I want you to do is take a couple minutes and pause me and think about different ways that you can try to solve this problem. 14 times 4. It's different because there's 2 digits now in one of my numbers. But what I can do is I can break 14 apart into easier things for me to multiply it against with 4. So pause me and take a couple minutes to try to solve this problem by yourself. So what I could have done is I could have drawn a picture of 4 groups and put 4 in each. But another thing that I could do is I could break apart 14 and think about how can I put this in 2 different equations. I want to break apart 14, but I'm going to keep 4 the same. So remember, when we're breaking apart numbers for multiplication problems, we're keeping one number the same, and we're breaking apart 14 into 2 numbers that can be added up to 14. So pause me and think about 2 numbers that can be added up to get to 14 that are easy for me to multiply with. So one number that's easy for me to multiply with is 10. And 10 plus 4 is equal to 14. So I kept 4 the same, and I broke up 14 into 10 and 4. I can add 10 and 4 to equal 14. And that's still going to have the same answer. So what I need to do first is 10 times 4. And I know 10 times 4 is 40. Plus, what's 4 times 4? Either you might know it automatically, or if you don't, you can make 4 groups with 4 in each. But I know that 4 times 4, or 4 times, is 16. So now I need to add 40 plus 16. So I have 4 tens and 1 10, so 56. Pause me and think about a different way that I can break up my number 14 into numbers that are easy for me to multiply with. Another equation that I can use to get this same answer is I know really easy my 5 times table. So 5 times 4 And then 5 plus what equals 14? 5 plus 9 times 4. Again, I'm keeping 4 the same, but I'm just breaking down my 2-digit number into things that I can add up. So 5 times 4 is 20, plus 9 times 4 would be 4 groups of 9, or 9 groups of 4, which is 36. And then 20 plus 36, again, equals 56. Pause me and think about another way that I can break down 14 times 4 into ways that are easy for me to multiply. Another way for me to think of this would be breaking up 14 into doubles, so 7 times 4 plus 7 times 4. Again, I'm keeping 4 the same, but breaking up 14 into 7 plus 7. So I can make 4 groups of 7, or 7 groups of 4. So I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, 4 groups with 7 in each. And what I can just do is I'm going to first count by 5s and then count by 2s. So it'd be 5, 10, 15, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28. So all I did is I just broke it up into things that I already know, so I could count it by 5s and then by 2s. That way it's easier for me to figure out how much I have in each. That way I'm not losing count by doing 28 separate things. So if I did 28 and then 7 times 4 again, so 28, or 20 plus 20 is 40, and then 8 plus 8 is 16, so 40 plus 16 is 56. So notice how I drew a picture to represent what I was thinking, and I also just broke down my 2-digit numbers into numbers that are easier for me to multiply with. For your have-to today, pages 488 to 490, you're going to be doing the same thing where you're multiplying 2-digit numbers by 1-digit numbers. And I want you to keep in mind the different ways that we can break apart a number by adding 1, so 10 plus 4 is 14, and then keeping the other the same, just like we did here and here. Or I can draw a picture. Instead of doing this, I could have done 14 groups of 4 or 4 groups of 14. So it's important for when I'm doing this to be thinking about how can I break this apart to make it easier for me to figure out. Here are pages 488 to 490, which is your have-to for today, and it's solving multiplication problems. And it says solve the problems and show your solutions. And over here I said to make sure to show your work and to break down the 2-digit numbers into numbers that are easier to multiply with. So I'm going to go over number 1 to show how you can show your work, and then you can use that same thing for all the rest of the problems. So I'm going to break down my notes with this text box, and there are 4 teams playing soccer at the park. There are 23 people on each team. How many people are playing soccer? So I'm going to write number of groups, number in each group, and total number. I'm going to take notes with this format. So it says there are 4 teams playing soccer at the park. There are 23 people on each team. How many people are playing soccer? So the number of groups, there's 4 teams. There's 23 people on each team. And then I need to figure out what my total number is. So my equation is going to be 23 times 4 equals what? And how I can do this is I can break down 23, my 2-digit number, into numbers that are easier for me to multiply. So pause me and think about 2 numbers that I can multiply with easily that equal 23. So I know 20 is a multiple of 10. So how I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down into 20 times 4 plus 3 times 4. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I'm going to add up 20 plus 3, which is equal to 23, and then keep 4 the same. And I'm breaking it up into 20 because I know multiple of 10s are easy for me to multiply with, because all I need to do is pay attention to my first number that's in my tens place if it's a multiple of 10. So all I can do right now is I could do 20 times 4, or 2 times 4, which is 80, plus a 0 at the end. So 80 plus, and then 3 times 4 is 12. So 80 plus 12 is 92 people. So my answer up here is 92 people played soccer. And I should see the same format for all of these problems, 1 through 6. And then on page 490, you need to write story problems for 7 and 8, and then you need to solve. So right here it says 15 times 8, and a story problem that I could write is that there are 15 oranges in each basket. There are 8 baskets. How many total oranges are there? So you need to first write a story problem, and then I need to solve it. So my equation would be 15 times 8, and I could break down 15 into 2 different numbers that are easier for me to multiply with 8. So that's what you need to make sure that you do the whole way through to get all 3 of these pages done. Make sure you're showing your work. Now let's take a look at your success criteria that you should accomplish by doing both this have to and by watching this video. Your success criteria for today is that you should be able to say, I can multiply 2-digit numbers by 1-digit numbers. I'm able to solve multiplication problems by breaking apart numbers, and I can use visual models to help me solve multiplication problems. So if in case it's difficult for you to be breaking apart the numbers like I have been doing, you can also just draw a picture. So for over here, you can also just draw 4 teams or 4 groups with 23 in each. So if I wanted to make this organized, I could do 4 groups. So I could put 20 in each, so 20, 40, 60, 80, and then 3 in each. 80, 83, 86, 89, 92. So there's 92 people that played soccer, and all I did was I first dealt out 20, and then I dealt out 3. So I could have counted 20, 40, 60, 80, and then 80 plus 12. So the same way that I did it right here. I broke apart the numbers to make it easier for me to multiply with. So you could either draw a picture or break apart the numbers. Now let's take a look at your have to slide. So you need to first complete pages 488 to 490, which is solving multiplication problems, by showing your work and making an array. And you also need to practice your facts I'm working on division flashcards for 10 minutes. Make sure you're doing this because it's really going to help you make sure that they come quickly and that you get them very accurately, your division facts. And then also 15 minutes of IXL only on the highlighted skills. Please make sure that you're doing this. I'm tracking it, and that's the only way that you can get full credit is if you did 15 minutes of IXL as well. So in order to get a 3, you need to say that I worked on all of the problems on pages 488 to 490, showed my work, practiced my division flashcards, and did 15 minutes of IXL.